Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of What to Do, the gameplay series where we look at some really standard positions to kind of help people understand maps a little bit better. We've done this a few times in the past now, and people have been very eager for more, so I'm happy to provide. And today, this is a really special episode of What to Do because of two things. First off, we're playing a Prokhorovka. Well, Prokhorovka is one of the most important maps in the game. And I'm just gonna pause it here in good old What to Do fashion. We pause within like 20 seconds of the game starting. Prokhorovka is a really important map. Now, most important for light tanks, of course, but also really important for fast vehicles like mediums can have really good games on this map for a very big combined score in terms of damage and assistance, right? So if you're playing for Mark of Excellence, if you get Prokhorovka with no arty especially, it's a really, really big potential for you. Now, the second reason this episode is very special is because it's not me playing the game. We are watching a replay of one of my tomatoes on the official tomato Discord that I run with a couple of friends. We're watching Dox's Test 123, or I asked him what he would want to be called in the replay, and he just said Dominator67, so okay. We're just gonna go with Dom, it's a little bit easier. Now Dom here is a 700 Dominate player from the NA server, and he has only played 1200 battles. So he is going to make a couple of mistakes. Now, again, I just want to mention that the replays that we feature in these episodes aren't, 10,000, 15,000 damage games or whatever. It's more replays that hold a certain educational value. Because the things that we have to look for are common misplays, very standard positions, and we just kind of look at the flow of the battle, if that makes sense, right? So Dom here got the EBR, I think, for free from the 2.0 rewards, and he's just gonna zoom around, and he's gonna do a couple of things right, but also a couple of things very wrong. And I watched this replay before, and the stars are going to align, and I'll show you what I mean once we get into the replay. But yeah. So, Prokhorovka. I like to cut this map up in 4 parts. We have 1-2 line, which this is actually a pretty important moment, so again, sorry, I'm just gonna pause here for a moment. We have, I'd like to divide this map into 4 parts. Now we have 1-2 line, which is this kind of like open and very bushy area over here. This is really the light tank arena, basically. Light tanks try to outscout each other here, and the first person to die is going to be really, really mad, because then the enemy light tank is going to get all of the assistance, and there is nothing you can do if you're playing something like a Badger, an E5, a Dravik, an E3, as we're going to be seeing in a moment. There's just nothing you can do. So it's all up to the light tanks on this map. Usually when the enemy light tanks die and you still have competent light tanks on your team, it's kind of like your win chances increase by like 75% or something. It's not an official number, that's just what it feels like. But yeah. We have 1-2 line here. Then we have the hill. Now the hill is very, very strong because you have shots at the middle area. Just make that a little bit smaller. You can play it over here from the north and over here from the south, and also sometimes in the middle, but I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. And then we have this middle part of the map. Now the middle part I like to divide into 2 parts. You have this part on the left here, where you can just peek, shoot some enemies, maybe get shot in the side of the turret, stuff like that. And then you have this right side part here. Now the right side is a little bit different to the left side because you're still within render distance of the hill. So people that are on hill, if you over peak on the right side, like next to this rock for example, people on the hill have very easy side shots on you. So when you peek over this like mid part here, it's usually easier to peek and shoot tank destroyers from this location than this location, because here you're out of render distance, so you won't get shot in the side. And if you over peek over here, you can still get shots, but there is a risk of you getting shot in the side. You also have these little bushes where you sometimes play against other hull down heavies, and also you want to shoot at the right side here to maybe shoot these locations on the hill. So yeah. Now, our protagonist here has made a very important decision. We have gone to the middle on Prokhorovka in a scout tank. Now this is already a little bit of a questionable decision. You can spot a lot of people in mid, especially in an EBR, because you can just like drive back and forth very quickly. But usually what you want to do, you got spotted here, I think, by the Manticore as well. Usually what you want to do in the beginning, especially as a light tank, sometimes even as a medium, is that you deny aggressive positions for enemy light tanks here. Especially in this infamous bush line. Now this bush line you can reach from both sides, but it's a little bit easier from one side than the other. I think it's a little bit easier from this side, if I'm not mistaken. Because if a light tank sits here, they have very, very good angles to spot the tank destroyers in the back. The same for this side. If you sit here, you have in turn very good angles at the tank destroyers in the back. Because if you sit in a bush here, for example, you have to look through, hundreds of bushes to be able to see somebody. So there's lots of cover in between you and the people that you're trying to spot. But if you sit all the way up here, you have a wider angle. So it's very easy to spot people sitting at the back if you have good rear range, which the EBR does not. So that is the first thing that I noticed when this replay started, is that the Manticore, a passive scout, you have something called passive and active scouting. Passive scouting is where you just sit still in a bush, and active scouting is you zooming around the map like the EBR likes to do. The Manticore decides to play middle here. Now that is incredibly interesting because it is basically the perfect tank to sit in some of these bushes here. So already a very, very interesting decision from the enemy light tank. And this is the first mistake. Now, the EBR is very annoying to shoot, as a lot of people notice sometimes. And Dom here just bounced a shell from the enemy WZ. The shell is basically the same size as the tank, but, he just bounced it. He probably just hit the gun or something. Now, this dip here is a position. I never go into the dip. Why do I never go into the dip? You can go here in like light tanks or something, but the problem is that you usually always get spotted on the way out or in the way in because of people playing the mid-ridge right here. So when Dom here got spotted by the Manticore over here, and then he decides to drive while spotted into the dip, tank destroyers can shoot him. Which they did, so he should have been down 750 damage right here. And what you're going to see as well is that Dom, there was another shot that barely missed there, is that Dom is very focused on killing the Manticore. Maybe a little bit too much. And it's a good thing, because the only thing you care about... He should have been dead right now, by the way. The only thing you care about in terms of enemies on the enemy team list when you're playing a light tank is this guy and this guy. But you'll see that the Manticore is actually making a massive mistake here, because he's actively scouting the mid-ridge on Proco, which is just not the best decision. Maybe if there would have been 2 or 3 artillery in the game, spotting these heavies could have been of some value, because they will just get bombarded by artillery. But right now, they're just going to sit hull down and be very, very careful, because they're basically perma-spotted. So he's providing very little value for his team right now. It could have even been a decision for him to go to the hill to spot all of these mediums so that his heavy tanks would have something to shoot at, because right now they have nobody on 9-0 line. So yeah, very interesting game here. The Sheridan is here as well, so the enemy team knows where both light tanks are. Well, we still do not know where the enemy EBR is. He could be on hill, he could be in 1-2 as well, which is what I'm guessing. But you never know. So we're gonna shoot here, we're gonna get spotted, and this is just... The Sheridan peeks up as well, and he gets shut down by an E4. The E4 is not spotted anywhere in the middle, so that means that he must be sitting somewhere in the back here. And Dom is now the only light tank left on his team. And remember what I said in the beginning. If you die, if you lose all of your light tanks on Prokhorovka, your chances to win just vanish, because you lose complete control of 1-2 line, basically. We get spotted again. We spotted out the Cocodrillos, which is good. They're sitting in a very standard position, which I maybe should mention, since we're doing a little bit of a map review. There is 2 or 3-ish positions from the north spawn that you want to be aware of. The first position is this little patch of bushes right here. Now, it is better to sit in this patch than it is to sit in the bush line right here. Because as I mentioned before, if you sit in the bush line, you have to spot through a very, very thick kind of like foresty area. Whereas if you sit on the outskirts of this patch right here, you have no bushes in your sightline, or well, a lot fewer bushes, and it's a lot easier to spot tanks like this E3, for example, who's playing a little bit outside of the foliage right here. Now the second position you'll also be familiar with is this like little hill, this ridge with a bush in front. Tank destroyers love sitting here. Why do they love sitting here? Because they have shots at people like Dom, just playing these ridges right here and right here. And if heavy tanks also peek over too aggressively, you have a very nice elevated position right here where you can shoot down on their turrets, so they don't have to peek over as far, and you will still be able to have shots. Now, still need a relatively accurate gun, so if you sit here in like an STRV or like a Gorilla 15 or something, you're Gucci. But if you're in a Jagdpanzer, you're going to be perma-spotted, and it's not going to be a good time. And the last position is just sitting in the back here, which is not really a position, it's just you go there if you don't really know what to do. But yeah, our Sheridan dies, which is absolutely massive, because now our passive scout is dead. Now the Sheridan isn't really the best scout in the world, but it's better than nothing, right? So now it's just Dom left, and he, again, as I said, has played 1200 battles, so the mistakes that you see are, you know, very normal mistakes to make for a newer player. The WZ gets spotted a little bit next to this bush right here, and if you get spotted here, you are going to take a lot of damage. Same with the E4. Dom isn't even looking at the people that he's spotting, but he just got 2000 assistance, which is... that is just so hilarious. There's also an E3 who's had enough. He's like, man, this game is going on for too long, let me push 1-2 in my E3. Spoiler alert, it isn't going to go very well. So he's full HP, he pings for SOS, he doesn't have, you know, CBS or insane view range, and he's going to die very soon. But yeah, Dom's still trying to play the pushes here, and Oh, this here. This is a cardinal sin. I know that this is about the map, but I just have to explain this like super quickly. If you get spotted somewhere, E3 died by the way. If you get spotted somewhere and you drive into cover, you're still spotted for like 8, 9, 10 seconds ish, depending on like perks and equipment and stuff like that. So Dom committed a cardinal sin when it comes to World of Tanks, and that is that you didn't go into cover, count to 10, become unspotted, and then do your next move, because he was still spotted here, and him driving out is just begging all of these people to pre-aim at this ridge right here. So, very big mistake, but we're playing an EVR, so we get out unpunished. So yeah, right now we're playing the middle. You can see that from here, actually, our team is playing the hill. But we cannot see the enemies. That in turn means that they cannot see us. So if you're playing like an E5 or a 705A, you see that these people are comfortably just sitting here without taking any damage, other than maybe getting shot from some tank destroyers. But you know, if you have good turret armor, it doesn't really matter. These people cannot peek here. They're aimed towards the hill. That's because the enemies are in render distance. And if they peek to the left, they will get shot in the side. So Dom is deciding to do a little bit more active spotting. The Manticore is still here, even after the Sheridan died. And in my opinion, it's a little bit of a misplay, because the Manticore knows where the EBR is. EBR is just, you know, driving around the middle. He could pressure this line so incredibly easily. Spot out this Jagdpanzer, spot out this FV, maybe even see the STRV, who could get shot by all of these people in middle here. So, Dom, you are blessed with the most interesting Manticore player that I've ever seen. And that's what I meant in the beginning, is that the stars for Dom are going to absolutely align here. It's going to be the perfect Prokhorovka match, even if Dom isn't even trying to make it so. It's just automatically going to happen. So yeah, once again, you see, once we're on the right side, we can see the enemies. In turn, they can see us. Our team is also pressuring the hill, and I'll just go over this a little bit here. When I play from the north side, so this spawn right here, I really enjoy sitting here in these bushes and getting some free shots in the middle, because you usually have heavies like this Type 5 or, you know, maybe this Chieftain that sometimes peek up, spot some people, and then you can get some free side shots with very low risk to yourself. Because if you sit in this bush line right here, I'll go in maybe in a free camera in a little bit to show this off better. There's a low bush line on the lower ground where it's very safe to sit, and you can also just drive back and you'll be in cover. Now, what I like to do from this side is not sit in this back bush right here. If I get outspotted, the side shots that people have on me are huge. If I play from south spawn, so this side, if I pressure hill, I immediately go into this dip. And I try to outspot people peeking aggressively. And also if I'm in like a light tank or something, I'll play these bushes on the side here to see people like running away, peeking aggressively, and just getting a little bit of extra assistance damage. But we're not going to go too much to the hill in this game. We're mostly going to be on middle and 1-2. So, again, this is such a risky peek. And the thing with light tanks as well is that the value of your tank, I think I've said this before, the value of your vehicle increases exponentially the longer you are alive. And this is kind of funny, because sometimes when I do like tomato training, or like World of Tanks like coaching, I sometimes make a joke when people want to play light tanks, where I say, just be AFK for the first 5 minutes of the battle. And it is a joke, of course, but there is a little bit of truth to it. Because how often do you find yourself not being able to outscout the enemy in later stages of the battle, right? And where you think to yourself, man, if our scout was alive right now, it would be so extremely useful. And that's kind of what's happening here with like the Sheridan dying. And oh, look at this, I almost missed it again. Next position that we're going to talk about. The EVR was on 1-2 line all along. Sorry, I just kind of like interrupted myself, but this is a very, very important moment. The EBR was on 1-2 line all along, and he was sneaking over here. EBR is very, very nice camo. Was sneaking through the bush line to get to this position. Now, when I'm playing south, this also happens from north, but it's easier to notice if you're playing south. If you play on this low ground here, where this badger is, you'll usually not get spotted, and you can shoot hill for free. Because this low ground is kind of covered from people over peeking, as long as there maybe isn't like a manticore just, you know, driving across the hill willy-nilly. Usually that doesn't happen. So most of the time you'll be unspotted right here. If you get spotted, and this is really funny, you can try this out yourself next time you play on Prokhorovka. If you get spotted in this low ground, 9 times out of 10, it means that there is a light tank who's gotten right here. Because if you sit on this bush, you have an angle all the way through here, and you can spot people playing all the way behind this bridge. This spot is very strong, because you can outspot the STRV, and all of these people are perma-spotted, and then they'll like peek up and they'll get shot immediately, and they'll think like, oh wow, am I perma-spotted? What's happening? And it's very easy to notice because around this like ditch, there's 2 roads, one that goes to the left and one that goes to the right. And where this road meets this bush line, that's where the light tank will be sitting. Kind of the same on this other side as well, but there's a little bit more bush cover, so you can move around a little bit more freely. But yeah, if you get spotted on this low ground area here, sometimes it'll mean that there's a light tank sitting right here. So if you like going for blind shots, that's where to shoot. But yeah, the EPR on the enemy team commits another cardinal sin, and he shoots a shot at Dom, who's at full HP. So even if he would have hit Dom, he wouldn't have died. And I don't know if I have to mention this, if you shoot your gun, you will practically lose all of your camo. Not like all of it, but practically you will be spotted. Unless you're double bushing or, you know, hiding properly. And look where the EBR died. How interesting is this? He died right here. I think maybe that he thought that he was double bushing with this here. So I think that the STRV ended up spotting him, because I think that he was sitting like here or something. And then he just blew up. So really, really poor decision by the enemy EBR. We also fire for some reason. I mean, it is a trash burn, so it is very satisfying to shoot, but hey. Who can blame you? Now, this game is still very tense. We have 1 light tank left. Our EBR. And the enemy still has Manticore left. The Manticore is still playing the middle. He takes another shot for free. And the reason this is kind of like a questionable decision is that he is spotting people that are not going to move. Where's the 705 gonna go? Where's the E5 gonna go? Where's the Badger gonna go? The only thing he has to do is to go 1-2 and just hold W, spot the STRV, and the enemy team basically win half the map. Why do they win half the map? Now, thank you for asking. That's an excellent question. 1-2 line is very important. Why is it so important? Well, it's important because if a scout tank wins the scout tank war here, they get all the way forward to this position, they will spot everything here. Like, if you're in any kind of tank destroyer, you will be spotted. Even if you're in like an STRV or something, you'll eventually get outspotted. And all of the tank destroyers that are behind them can safely push up here, and then just blast all of the people that are here. What happens after that is that they can sit in these bushes here and look at the angles that they have. They can shoot all the way across here, and they can shoot all of this here. So winning 1-2 essentially wins you 50% of the map, because the only safe place is like behind these ridges, but mostly behind the train tracks here. So then you're kind of forced to play 9-0 and then get this half of the map, and then, you know, kind of like reset the engagement, just that the enemies have all of this and you have all of this. But, you know, people don't kind of adhere to these like positioning rules that exist. They just kind of play the game. So if Dom and this STRV die and the Manticore pushes up, all of these people are just completely cooked. So yeah. Now, Dom only has an STRV on 1-2, but that is still enough. STRV, super accurate, really nice DPM, so if Dom spots anybody, they should still get absolutely blasted. We still have an E5 and 705A. Okay, so again, we're just learning here. The EBR doesn't have armor. The E5 has armor. Now, the survivability of light tanks, or tanks that just go very quickly, is that their survivability is tied to their mobility. And especially with tanks like the EBR, and like the Manticore was doing here as well, if you stand still, you will get shot. So don't stand still. That's basically what we want to say. Yes, we got a shit. We got a shot on the trash mart. Sorry. Which was very nice. But there's two Cocodrillos, a Yak Panzer, and a VZ who is looking to get some revenge on us for bouncing 2 shells earlier. So yeah, standing still, very risky. But look at this. How interesting is this? We've been zooming around in the middle, but we have not spotted the Manticore. Where is the Manticore playing? Our STRV pings on 1-2 line, actually. Look where he pings. It's the spot that we just talked about here. Now, the things have also happened on the other side of the map is that our allies have pushed the hill. Our Dravik is super aggressive. He is just absolutely gaming. It's just a Chieftain and a DBV holding us back here. So we're most likely to win the other half. It's kind of like a light tank casting replay, but I think that the map knowledge here is also very important. Now, something is gonna happen here. We get spotted. The type did not spot us because we were in a push. We didn't shoot him. If any of these tanks here were to drive forward, we would 100% of the time outspot them. So what could it be that outspotted us? It's the Manticore. The Manticore has finally made a decision to play 1-2 line. Something he should have done 9 minutes ago. And this is really spooky. But we're not gonna get punished. Like, Dom should have died like 3 times over this game already. It's a miracle that he's still alive with full HP. But yeah, the Manticore is spotting 1-2 and he's making his way down very slowly. Now we're winning 9-0, so we still have a little bit of map control, but if the Manticore decides to push down and make this play where they get this corner, it's game over for all of our tanks in the middle here, and it's gonna be kind of like a very close game again, whereas now the game is still kind of under control. Now, since we are here, we can kind of take a look at the hill a little bit more. Now, there are these are the bushes that I mentioned, where this leopard and this Type 71 were. If you sit in these bushes, you are very, very safe. And you can also have very nice shots at the middle, if, of course, there are people playing there. There is also a bush here, which I'm going to fly to with free camera in a minute. But if I go into free cam, it's going to remove all the view range circles on the map, which I think still are quite important. So I'm just going to go over there in a minute. And if you push from the other side here, these bushes here are very, very nice if you have very good camo. Because you can actually spot people driving into this bush line then. And if they drive into it, 6 seconds takes 3 seconds to trigger. People in middle will have very, very easy shots at them. So very, very strong location here. And that is also why I don't play here, because if you just sit here and then get outspotted sometimes, it's just not very good. Now, what is Dom going to do? We have a piece at 75 here on full HP and a drawback. Now, some EBR players think that the game is over, but I just kind of missed it again. The Manticore dies, and it isn't inside render right now, but he dies right next to the EBR. Why did he die? Because he fired his gun. Oh, Manticore player. Why did you do that? It's just... You have one objective as a light tank, and that is to clear out 1-2. And then when 1-2 is cleared out, then you can use all of these bushes here to just farm everybody in the middle. So yeah. If I was in an EBR right now, I would go all the way back and I would push 1-2. Or maybe the game is kind of over, so yeah. We can just kind of sit here. Now, speaking a little bit about these back positions here, these positions are quite nice. If you're playing like a snipey-esque tank destroyer, and you don't want to play in this bush right here on the top side, this one. Because here, you're usually outside of the view range of people poking the mid-ridge, and you can still sometimes have a couple of nice shots on the on people peeking. So as you see, the Badger, the E5 are open, and if you have a little bit of high ground, like here, you can get some nice shots. I don't recommend going here, it's not very reliable. I would still go to the standard bush over here, or even consider going to the hill to get side shots from there. It's way easier and it's more reliable as well. So, yeah. Now, the game is almost over. The game isn't that great yet, but there's 3 people left, and they are all relatively chunky still in terms of HP. Now, before we drive in here, I'm trying to cover a little bit more from both spawns, because people said that it would be a little bit more interesting if we covered everything. So in these bush lines here, if you get spotted anywhere in front here, you are kind of screwed. Because if you fall back to be in cover from these people, you will get shot in the side. And if you drive forward here, you will get shot by all the tank destroyers playing 1-2 line. Now there is one spot where you can be relatively safe. And it's this little dip right here. Because it's pretty hard to see, but there is quite a big, like, little ridge here where you can sit behind to be in cover from these people. And it's also low enough that people from the middle cannot shoot you that easily. So if you want to make an absolute last stand, I would just go all the way back here in the red line and then just shoot anything coming over to you. But yeah, Dom is going to do kind of the right thing, kind of the wrong thing. He's going to spot the final enemies. And here he kind of makes a little bit of a mistake. This is just kind of like nitpicking. The game has been played. It's kind of over. But there's still a Cocodrillo left with 1400 hit points. Now Dom has saved up, miraculously, all of his HP to the endgame. He could just tank a shot from the Jagdpanzer and still live. So what I think would be the best thing here is just to drive in here and just spot everything. Because everybody is just lined up. They're all just waiting to shoot the Cocodrillo and the Jagdpanzer. So going in here and just completely throwing your tank away, it doesn't really matter. And you see here that the beast at 75, he understands this, and he's just going to boost right in front of the Jagdpanzer and the Cocodrillo to get some more spotting. Now we still get most of the assistance on the Jagdpanzer, and we spot him again. But look here, the Cocodrillo is going to be spotted by the BZ, and he's just going to get completely evaporated. Now, we're going to clear up this enemy here, but I still want to go over a couple of positions here on the hill, because it is quite a cheeky position to play. Also, we have an island here. Just don't. Just don't. Alright, so, the hill. Now, I love playing the hill from north spawn. I do not usually go here from south. It's not as fun. Unless I am in some sort of scout-ish medium tank or something. As I said, I love playing this bush flank right here, because you can just see people as they're driving up into cover here. And also if they're going into this bush line here, because if you sit in these bushes, you have great vision on people here. But you will spot people then driving into here, and you can get not tons, but you can get some decent spotting damage if you go hill. But what I really wanted to show you guys is a position that I learned through a Ayuxin video, so huge shout out. He's kind of like a small content creator, you might not have heard of him. Just joking, of course. And it's this bush that I saw in a video of his. Now, this one has the same purpose as this giant line of bushes right here, but it's way safer. You can fall back way easier. It's not as far to go into cover again. And also what you can do is that, look at this angle right here. You can look straight into the camper bush from the enemy team. And if you have decent view range and CBS, if people move here, you will spot them. And then they are going to get absolutely trashed on by your team in the back here. And that is also why I don't like sitting in this bush. I cannot really remember the last time I've been here. It is certainly a location, but I just think it's a little bit too risky. The shots that you get from here are okay, but it's just not as safe as this position here, because you don't know when you're going to get spotted, pretty much. Now, we also have the middle here. Now, encounter has been removed, so it's not that difficult, or it's not that important anymore. I just wanted to say one more thing, and that is that if you play from this dip over here, and you want to shoot a hill, load an HE shell, and shoot this house that stands here. Because this house gives an awful lot of cover to the people on the hill. And if you shoot it on the middle here with an HE shell, you blow up the entire house with one shot. You see that only one half is destructed. It's because somebody shot it with an AP or APCR or heat round or something like that. And then only one half will explode. Now, it will make it a little bit easier for these people to shoot you as well, but I still think it's worth it. Because if you're sitting outside of your view range, like all the way over here where the badger was sitting, it gives you a lot more opportunities to shoot on top of the hill. Now we also have this little position here. This is not as good as from this side. I'm just gonna say it. That's just the way it is. Because it can work, but it's just not as comfortable. And before I forget, there's a little play that I like to make if I'm playing a very, very fast tank, like a CS63, Batchat, something super quick. You can actually race from your spawn, if you have a decent spawn. You can race over here, and you can go here, and you can actually spot slower vehicles driving to the hill. So if somebody is, you know, has a bad spawn and they're playing like an E5 or something, or a Super Conqueror or whatever, if they want to go to the hill, you'll be able to spot them here, and sometimes you'll just demolish them for half their hit points. You can also spot people that are camping on this back location, and that's another reason why it isn't as good, in my opinion. But yeah, that was Prokhorovka. I don't really think we missed anything. And this like counterplay or winning 1-2 from this side right here and then shooting people in the back, it works the exact same way from the other side. So it is a pretty well mirrored map. I wouldn't say it's like crazy imbalanced or anything, but yeah, that is pretty much Prokhorovka. I was very excited to do a Prokhorovka what to do episode. I did have some replays on my own, but I just wanted to feature this one because there were a little bit of extra mistakes, both from our side, from Dom's side, and from the enemy Manticore, who just I've no idea what he wanted to do in middle, but I just thought that was kind of, you know, it had some certain educational flavor to it. So yeah, I'm sorry this is a really long episode, but I think it was worth it. So thank you, Dom, for submitting the replay. And I'm not going to yap anymore. I hope you enjoyed. I'm looking forward to the next episode of What to Do. Please leave a comment if you enjoyed. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.